Today on the podcast, I got to talk to Marquetta Daly. She hiked for 155 days with her family. She had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. They hiked about 10 miles a day and completed 1,300 miles. That was in 2022. And this conversation is really fascinating because she shares the behind the scenes of her growing up and pre-kids, kind of what her adventures looked like outside and her history in the wilderness was like. She also shares what's happening now in their life 3 years later as they still continue to do big thru-hike treks. So it's a really fascinating and interesting conversation that I know that you're going to enjoy. I do want to note I was using the wrong headphones at the beginning of the recording, and so it is quite hard to hear me, but do note it will get better, and Marquetta sounds great, so keep listening. Welcome to Let's Go Outside, a podcast bringing moms together to chat about the raw, unfiltered reality of doing the exploring we love after having kids. No matter your comfort level of adventuring with the little ones, this is a space to have honest conversations about the real struggles of getting out the door with the kiddos. I'm Danica, a mama living in a small mountain town who's totally obsessed with healthy food and taking my kids outside every single day. I professionally guided backpacking trips in the Canadian Rockies, and I'm certified as a Leave No Trace instructor. On the show, you'll hear real experiences from other moms, plus tips on gear, trail snacks, and the best practices in the wilderness. Whether it's hiking, camping, backpacking, skiing, or traveling the world you want to do more of, this is your place to learn, find encouragement, and strip away any comparison. Come embrace both motherhood and the outdoors. Stick around. This is your place. Welcome to the Outdoor Mom Club. Would you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Marquetta, and I'm from Czech Republic. I have 3 beautiful children and a husband, and we all live in California, and we love any kind of adventure that's outside. And that's really my passion is, bonding and spending time with my children outdoors, whether that's hiking, backpacking, climbing, or just hanging out by a river. Yeah.
Would you share how old your kids are?
Yeah, my oldest Sequoia is 8 years old. Then there's Joshua, who just turned 7, and Standa is 5.
Would you share memories that you have of going outside as a child? Did you start young going outside regularly?
Yeah. I grew up till I was 8. We lived in Czech Republic, and my memories from the strongest and most vivid memories from growing up in Czech till I was like 8 are memories of being outdoors, biking and hiking and even backpacking. My dad did such a good job of teaching us all the basics, and I think it really was his way of bonding with us, me and my sister, by taking us on these adventures. And then when we moved to America, the plan wasn't to stay here. We were supposed to go back to Czech, and my dad, I think he just really fell in love with the nature here. And since there was always this feeling like we're not going to stay here forever, I think there was this urgency to see as much as we could. And so there was a couple years of like really intense travel, going to all the national parks and seeing as much as we could of the nature here, because it's so different from Czech nature. And yeah, it really blew us away. Grand Canyon and Yosemite, the valley, and everything's just huge here, and yeah, it's intense. So I have so many memories of like camping trips and day hikes, and somewhere in there we started backpacking, and my sister didn't take to it so much, but I stuck with it. As I got older, it would be like a choice, like, do you want to come with me on this backpacking trip? And I always, for some reason, I don't remember my feelings about it, because when I was a teenager, I do remember feeling like I hate this, but I also love it. And for some reason, I always said, like, yeah, I want to go with you, Dad. And so I ended up going on quite a bit of adventures with him as a teenager. And the one I remember the most is that we decided to do the Muir Trail together and with some friends. And I wasn't able to finish. My feet hurt so much after like 100 miles that we hiked. And so I left the trail, and I was so mad at myself that I didn't finish the hike because my dad finished it, and his story from the trail was incredible. His pictures, the mountains he saw. And so I kind of promised myself, like, I'm going to, go back and like finish it. And I went back with my dad and a friend, and we finished it. And I remember that's kind of the moment when I really fell in love with backpacking in particular, because, we were out there for like 12 days, I want to say. And it was just amazing to be out there for so long. Yeah.
And then did you meet your partner and continue to hike? Was that your go-to adventure?
Yeah. Well, in 2012, with my ex-boyfriend, we hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. And that was also kind of tied into doing the Muir Trail. I had done it a couple times by then because I just kept coming back every year. Like, I want to hike the Muir Trail again, and I want to hike it again. And so I had hiked it a couple times. And on one of those Muir Trail hikes, we ran into a PCT hiker, and I was just blown away. Like, really? You're going to Canada? Like, how far is that? What does that mean? Like, where do you get food? And I just couldn't wrap my head around such a long distance. And so a couple years later, with my ex-boyfriend, we decided we would do that and see how that went. And it was an awesome journey. It was beautiful, and I really loved it. And afterwards, I decided to I learned about building trails, and that there's people that are building trails, and I was really fascinated by that. And I learned of a program called the California Conservation Corps, the backcountry crew. They spend half a year living in like a remote wilderness area, and they build trails. And that was so appealing to me, the idea of like, wow, I get to like call someplace home, and yeah, you're away from civilization, there's no phones, you're living out of a tent. Horses brought us food. And so I signed up for this program, and my now husband David was on that crew.
Wow.
So we met out there, and yeah, spent half a year building trails together. And it was such a magical experience. I hope my kids are interested in doing that one day, because yeah, I feel like it changed my life.
Wow. That sounds more intense than tree planting.
Yeah.
So was that something that you were getting paid for? Was it a job?
It was a job. But the like slogan of the program is hard work, low pay, miserable conditions, and more.
Yeah.
And so it was like, but for me, it was perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Yeah, just such a unique experience in today's world where, everybody has a phone. And yeah, I think it affects relationships. And out there, we didn't have any of that. And it was really interesting to meet people that way, where, yeah, you don't have the internet and all these like things to do. Yeah, there was just, yeah, work and getting to know people. And I think that's really special in today's world.
Okay, tell us about now doing the PCT with your kids. We're jumping forward a bit, but you've had kids now, and this is something that was interesting to you. Tell us how did you and David lead into doing the PCT?
When we met with my husband in this backcountry trails program, I remember telling him, like, we should do the Pacific Crest Trail together. And he was really down with it because he grew up hearing about it, because the town that he grew up in was a town along the PCT. He's from Wrightwood, California, and the PCT goes through there. And so he kind of had the same dream, and my dream was definitely to hike it again and with him. And so when the program ended, we had that plan, but things kept getting in the way. We were taking care of his mom, and him trying to find a job and figuring out where we're going to live. Things just seemed to be happening that were preventing us from being able to hike it. And then I got pregnant and with Sequoia, and we kind of had this moment like, oh, is this it for like the next 20 years? Like now we're going to be parents and things are going to be so different. And yeah, I remember coming back from the hospital with her, and the first thing we did was like take a little walk around the neighborhood. And yeah, it was this like feeling like yeah, we're going to go on adventures with this girl. Like yeah, we're not going to, I don't even know, like I'm not sure, I can't remember what like my idea anymore was of what parents are supposed to do, but I just remember having this feeling like yeah, we can still do adventures, like it's going to be okay. And so little by little we spent more and more time outdoors with her. Like I would have picnics with her and going on little hikes, and soon we were going camping. Yeah, I remember the first time we slept outside with her, and feeling so nervous, like how is that going to go? And it went great. And then going on more and more backpacking trips, and really feeling like that was such a good way for us to be as a family. And then we decided when she was 15 months that, yeah, let's do the John Muir Trail together and see how that goes. And as a training hike for the John Muir Trail, we decided, like, let's do the Tahoe Rim Trail, which is 190 miles and a trail that goes around Lake Tahoe. It's not so remote as the John Muir Trail, so we felt like, yeah, we'll know if the John Muir Trail is a good idea, if we can do the Tahoe Rim Trail. And so we did that, and it went great. There was no issues. I did wonderfully hiking part of the trail, and I carried her in like a backpacking backpack, and then David carried most of our gear. And so like a month after that, we set out on the John Muir Trail. Once again, it went awesome. We were able to do really big miles. Like we kind of got into this routine of like, I would carry her when she was taking a nap, and then we'd let her run around and hike part of the trail, and we were still able to move really well. And when that trail finished, I had this moment of like thinking like, well, we just did almost 400 miles. We could have done the Pacific Crest Trail. We could have done way more. Like this was so fun. Why did we sign up for such a short trail when we could have done something so much longer? And so we decided like, yeah, next year we're doing the Pacific Crest Trail. And then yeah, but somewhere along the in that year, we got a phone call about Joshua, that he was born and he needs a family, and we decided that we were going to adopt him. And that was a really, really awesome decision. I'm so glad we made that decision. But it did create this feeling like, well, now we're really done. Like we have 2 kids. There's no way we can backpack. And once again, slowly we started introducing Joshua and Sequoia together into the outdoors and learning how to be with them, through having picnics and day hikes. And then eventually we took them on the Timberline Trail, which is just like a 40-mile loop around in Oregon.
Okay.
Trail. But we had to carry both of the kids, and it was a brutal hike. We had such heavy backpacks, and there's quite a bit of rain. I remember we had some rain, so we were carrying extra like gear for that, and it was pretty cold. But we did it, and it was a good experience. It was positive. And once again, we kind of felt with David like, yeah, we can do the Pacific Crest Trail next year. And yeah, and then we got pregnant with Stunda, and once again it was just like, well, now what happens now? We have 3, like we can't carry all 3 kids. But by that time, Sequoia was like pretty good at hiking. She was such a fantastic hiker when she was small, and now still. But and Joshua is such a tough kid. And we once again, after our third was born, Sanda, we started going on trips, camping. We never went on a backpacking trip with all 3 kids prior to the PCT, but we did spend a great amount of time outdoors, and we kind of just had this feeling like, yeah, we should try. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we hike for a day on the PCT. Like, we should just get permits, see if we get them. If we get them, we should just go stand at the terminus and start hiking and see how far we get. And that's what we did. We applied for permits and we got them. What was it? In March of 2022, we started hiking the PCT, and yeah, that's kind of how that happened.
Wow. That's incredible that you added it one kid in at a time and you kind of tested your limits, and I kind of love thinking about it in that way of like, okay, let's create a system and kind of a method, and oh, these are the things that we're already confident at. We know how to do these things, and now how does it look to add another kid in and another kid in, and the fact that you did those practice trips or like those big trips with your oldest too, and then your third came and you said, let's do it. That's really beautiful. So when you started this, when you started the PCT in March 2022, how old were they?
Sequoia was 5, Joshua was 3, and Stunda was, I think, 15 months. Yeah.
Okay. And was it a lot of gear preparation and food preparation before? Like, what does it look like for you guys to do your through hikes? Did you have boxes that were going to be sent to you?
No, having hiked the PCT in 2012, I kind of knew, what did I know? I knew how it went on trail, and I knew that some people sent boxes, but it wasn't like a requirement to be able to successfully like through hike, because we met several people that didn't send boxes. And so our thinking was that, there's no point in preparing all this food. And then what if we realize like we aren't able to do this? Like, let's not prepare anything, and we'll do all the work on trail in towns. If we need to send boxes ahead, we'll do that from the town. And that was kind of our thinking, like, do as little amount as possible so we don't feel like pressure to, achieve something or get somewhere, because that would be putting a lot of pressure on the kids and ourselves, and we didn't want that pressure. Because if things didn't feel right, we didn't want to feel pressured to continue.
Yeah, I think that it kind of feels backwards for a lot of people, right? Because we want to be prepared, we want to have everything set in order, we want to know what the plan is with kids. But I mean, I just talked to Eleanor. Her podcast was up at the end of November this year, and she just biked Kyrgyzstan for 6 weeks with her family in the summer. And she said, we picked somewhere wild so that when the kids were tired, we didn't have to keep biking to another campsite. She said we could literally set up the tent right here. And that's exactly what I hear you say. You and David trusted your skills, and you knew what it was going to look like. And so you didn't prepare the food in advance, and you didn't, have it all marked out because you needed the flexibility with kids. And I think that's just such a good takeaway point to realize when we're doing it with kids. Like, sometimes preparations can actually deter us and discourage us.
Yeah. I feel like we prepared. The thing that was like the biggest preparation was the fact that we had so much experience outdoors beforehand. Both me and my husband grew up, spending a lot of time outdoors. So I feel like we were prepared in that sense, and everything else was just kind of, out of our hands. Like, we didn't know if 3-year-old Joshua could hike, 10 or more miles a day. Like, we didn't know if the kids would find their fun in that kind of hike where all they're doing is hiking all day, every day. Like, we didn't know if that was going to be actually fun. It's so different from going for one day, doing a 10-mile hike. Yeah, I knew they could do that, but I didn't know if they could do that over and over and over again. So there really wasn't a point to, preparing in like an intense way with the food. And then we were lucky with gear, like, from all our experience, we had basically everything. The only thing we did do is buy a new backpack for David, because we needed something that was light but able to carry a large amount of stuff and heavy. and there's not a lot of options for that, but we did find the Hyperlight backpack, the Southwest, I think it's called. That one really turned out to be like the best, and yeah, we're still using it. It's awesome.
Okay, so were you carrying the youngest and then Joshua was expected to hike on this trail?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
there was. We thought about different options, but yeah, there was just no way for me to carry two kids or for David to carry a kid with all the stuff that he was carrying. So Sanda, who was barely walking at that time, needed to be carried, and Joshua was really the question mark in all of this because yeah, we didn't know if, at 3 years old, yeah, that's really young to be hiking so much. So we didn't know how he would do.
Yeah. Okay, well, share how it went and maybe you could share a snapshot of what the days looked like or some highlights and some lowlights. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, we started out and the first couple days were absolutely brutal. We weren't able to hike more than 10 miles, which, counting out the miles and knowing how far like towns were, we really needed to be hiking 10 miles a day. I knew that for it to make sense so that we don't run out of food, we don't run out of water. All these things kind of made us realize like we do need to be hiking 10 miles a day, and we weren't, no matter how much we tried and motivated the kids. Yeah, there was a lot of crying and a lot of frustration at the beginning. Really, the first like 6 days, I remember being absolutely brutal. But also there was so many beautiful moments as well, which really kept us going. And when we got to the first town, we kind of felt a little bit defeated because our miles were so low and we were second guessing everything. But we didn't have any service in that town, and the next town was 40 miles away. And so we were thinking like, let's hike to the next town and we can call my parents, grandma and grandpa, for help, that we need to be picked up, that this was a huge mistake. So we bought all the food we needed and we went and set out to hike to this next town that was 40 miles away. By the time we got there, something changed, and suddenly it was more fun than misery, and the kids were playing more. They were less upset about not being home. Like in the beginning, they were really like concerned about their toys at home and seeing their friends. And we live with grandma and grandpa, so they really missed grandma and grandpa. And all those kind of initial emotions subsided in the stretch to the second town. And by the time we got there, we realized that, yeah, we didn't need to make a phone call. We did make a phone call, but just to say hi and, yeah, we're doing really great and that we're going to keep going. And yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was really lucky because had we had service in the first town, I don't think we would have continued.
Wow. So how long were you on the trail for from now after this?
We ended up being on the trail for 155 days.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, any other highlights and lowlights to share?
The biggest highlight for me from the Pacific Crest Trail was when we entered the Sierra Nevada mountains, basically the stretch from like Mount Whitney area to Lake Tahoe. We got there, since we started hiking pretty early in the season, we got there pretty early and there was still snow on the passes. And yeah, it was really difficult to make a decision if we should skip the section or if we should try it, because other hikers around us were entering the Sierras at that point with crampons and ice axes, and we didn't have any of that. So we weren't sure if it was a good idea. But again, we stuck with our feeling of let's try, and we can always bail out if it doesn't feel right. And so that's what we did. And the first big pass, we went over Forester Pass, which is over 14,000 feet. I remember like getting to the top of it, and the northern side of each pass always holds the snow. So we didn't know the whole time coming up Forester Pass, we weren't sure if like the other side of the pass was going to be impossible for us and we'd have to turn around. And we got to the top of Forester Pass, and yeah, we were looking at the snowfield below us, and the kids were so excited. Like, they love snow, and we started going down on the snow, and yeah, little by little we made progress, and it didn't feel dangerous. It felt like the kids understood that, this isn't a time to be crazy and wild. Like, we need to be focused, so we don't like slip. And yeah, it felt, suddenly everything felt like right. We knew we would be able to like do the whole Sierra section, which was awesome because that's like my heart, my home. Away from home, yeah, it's the John Muir Trail section, and I was so excited that we were going to be able to hike it with all three of our kids.
So is that a part where you are boot skiing kind of, or like sliding down on your bumps, or is it like steps in the snow that you're hiking?
Yeah, it was steps in the snow because there's so many other hikers. So many hikers hike the PCT, and at that point when we were going through, there was like clear path through the snow from all the other hikers, and you're just kind of stepping into boot prints, or yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
That's incredible. How did that feel to do the whole trip to do that with your family? Yeah, what was the feeling at the end of that trip?
It felt like, gosh, like we can do anything we want. We don't have to be scared of things. The kids are so capable and so strong. Like, I really feel like we underestimate children and their abilities. It's incredible to look back and have that as such a family bonding experience. I mean, to be able to spend half a year together as a family I'll always remember it as such a positive thing that we did.
So cool. Thank you for sharing that.
If you're looking to hit your protein goals, balance your blood sugar levels, and energize your day, I have just the recipes for you. I have compiled the top high protein snack recipes from my food blog into a mini e-cookbook. They're easy to make with whole food ingredients. Many of the recipes include nuts, hemp hearts, or eggs as the main source of protein. To get this free ebook, go to besidethemountain.com/protein-ebook or check out the show notes below. I get asked quite a bit about the gear that we use while on international trips, especially about our lightweight playpen that we use. We'll bring that into the rock climbing crag or hike it into a beach and really use it for daytime naps anywhere. And so I put together a travel gear list, and I'm really hoping that this doesn't just cover like basic things that you would find on any travel list, but it's unique to the fact that these are specific things that might not be deemed as travel. And they are things that we have used over the last 5 years of traveling with our kids. So I've also included my kids' favorite activities for the plane and for road tripping as well. We have been really enjoying house sitting lately, and so I also put all the details in there. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it is all linked in the show notes, so you'll find the link there.
Now I want to jump forward to this summer that you did 200 miles and a 24-day trip with another mom. Would you tell us about that trip? Was this something that you had your eye on for a long time? And were your kids just so stoked to do it with you? Tell us about it.
Yeah, the inspiration for the John Muir Trail was that as the kids are getting older, it's really cool seeing them make friendships. And in particular, our friend Svatka, she's the mom, and her two daughters, Josie and Charlie, we've really gotten close to, because the kids get along really well, and us moms kind of have a similar feeling about adventuring with our kids. And we're both, yeah, maybe a little crazy. We both just come up with the craziest plans and then take our kids along with us for those plans. And yeah, I was telling Svatka that, I think it would be really cool if we took the kids on a hike of the John Muir Trail. And yeah, she was really enthusiastic about it, and she was willing to, trained for it. She has a little bit less experience backpacking, so we had to figure out gear for her, and I feel like she has different expectations of comfort, so she had to figure out what kind of gear would work for them. Not everything that we had was kind of the same. Some things like the hyperlight backpack I was talking about, she really enjoyed using that, so she was using that. Sleep, we don't sleep in sleeping bags. We sleep under these like from Enlightened Equipment double quilts that just kind of cover us. And so she found through our training backpacking trips that worked for their family as well. And then there were differences. Like I enjoy carrying like a foam pad to sleep on, and I guess that's not like so comfortable for everyone. So she had like an inflatable double sleeping pad. Yeah, so just figuring out gear beforehand.
Okay, so it sounds like you did some test trips beforehand, or your friend did. And then you shared on Instagram quite a bit this summer of that trip. Like, it's beautiful photos. Everyone has to go look and read all about it. But share about the support you got from your family and for hiking food and for food drops. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. I'm kind of used to hiking the John Muir Trail pretty fast in 11 or 12 days, where you wouldn't need to deal with getting food resupplied from someone. But since our plan was to take it slow and let the kids play, we wanted to hike it over 24 days. Like, that was the plan. And we mapped out where we would sleep each night. And so we needed somebody to bring us food. And my awesome husband was willing to do that. I mean, he was carrying in like 70 pounds of food for us, and something crazy like that. And so we had, I think, he met us 3 times along the trail to bring us food.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that was just him hiking in over passes to bring us food.
Okay, cool. And your go-to method is the bear canisters, I've seen. You're a big fan of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Which are I do like carrying the bear canister for mice and stuff, but on the John Muir Trail it's required to have a bear canister.
Okay, that's good. And that sounds like something that the John Muir Trail sounds like your happy place, and so maybe you got used to that system and you loved it. It's not something that I'm super familiar with, but it was good to see that.
Yeah.
And was there days and moments where you wondered, can everyone do this trip? Are we going to make it through the full 24 days that we have planned?
I remember like first and second day, I remember feeling like, yeah, we are gonna finish. I mean, unless some accident happens. It felt like the kids were really strong. The kids really loved being out there. There was no reason to not be able to do it. We were doing like 8 to 10 miles a day, so not very much. And I feel like we kind of knew right off the bat that, like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you share, is there moments on the John Muir Trail that you did this summer that you really hope the kids will remember for the rest of their lives?
I mean, I hope they remember all of it. It was incredible to see them playing with their friends. I mean, it was just like 24 days of play from sun up to sundown, and it's such a different experience to hike with friends as opposed to as a family. The dynamics are so different, and the kids are motivated in different ways. And yeah, at their ages, I feel so lucky that we have friends that want to be doing things that, are our passions, like backpacking. To be able to have a friend that is willing to do that and happy to do that with her kids, and her kids are so incredible as well. They're so strong and, willing to be uncomfortable. And yeah, I mean, the whole trip, I feel like they'll remember forever, honestly.
Yeah. Wow. It's so true. It's so true that doing a trip with your friends is so different than family, and the motivation that you see the kids and get from each other and motivate each other and to play with each other. I think for the age that you're at right now, it's such a special thing to be able to do. And it's really cool. That's a really great reminder for, I think, for a lot of moms and for me too. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
Would you share your sleeping system? I want to know more about it.
Yeah, we our kids really love to sleep without a tent. Not sure why, but maybe it's because I like to, and I like to because it's less setup. You don't have to set up a tent. We do always have a tent, but when we see that the weather's good, we don't set it up, and so we lay down a sheet of Tyvek, which is like a construction material that is put on houses as like waterproofing. And it's really like durable and sturdy. So we use that as like a ground cloth. And then onto that, we put our foam pad. And recently I discovered on Amazon like a double foam pad. And so that's been like such a game changer as far as how well we sleep, because before we were using like individual foam pads for each person, and I was up in the night constantly like shifting things so that they would be nicely next to each other. Like the kids rolling around on them would like move them, and then there would be gaps. So now we have one big like foam pad that we put underneath ourselves, and that's really been awesome. And then our enlightened equipment, it comes with like these straps that you clip, and the strap goes around the sleeping pad, and so we're all like tucked in together. And yeah, that's for pillows. Sometimes we use like extra clothing that we have that's like stuffed into like little stuff bags, and yeah, that's about it. It's really simple.
Okay. Do you find that the temperatures in California get a lot lower at night, or is it pretty mild? I'm just trying to think
It's
about
pretty
it compared to
mild.
Alberta. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's I think I would be our sleep setup would probably be very different if we were in Canada. Like what I've hiked the Jommer Trail 11 times now, and it's always like maybe 1 or 2 days of rain. The temperatures are never like really extreme. Yeah, California is really easy with weather. Yeah, and after the PCT, we went and we did like 250 miles on the Appalachian Trail on the East Coast, and that was so different. It was so crazy how much rain and like moisture and humidity there was. Yeah, you could really feel how lucky we are here. We don't deal with nearly as much as we had to deal with on the Appalachian Trail. Like the temperatures there, um, not so much cold, but just wet. Everything seemed like wet and constantly.
Yeah. Honestly, the landscape and the temperature of California is kind of magical.
Yeah.
Like, it is so special. There is so much there.
Hmm.
So, when your kids spent a lot of time playing on these trails and doing activities, did you guys bring anything specific to kind of cultivate, fun times or playing? Was there anything specific that you brought for them, or did they just love being wild with each other and or just like, wild play? But I guess I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think I I have an opinion that you don't need to bring anything for kids outside. They always on the Pacific Crest Trail, for example. I think each kid had one toy that they brought, which they lost within a couple days, and then they had no toy. And yeah, doesn't feel important. It feels like rocks, sticks, and dirt are all they really need. But as they're getting older, I have kind of uh, developed like this different opinion, I guess, that it's good for them to be able to, like, we bring journals on every trip now, and it's partly because we're homeschooling, and I encourage them to write and draw and remember things through journaling. But it's also like yeah, I have all their journals saved from all their trips. And yeah, it's really special. I think it's going to be really special for them to look back on when they're older. And yeah, on the John Muir Trail, we all the kids had their own journals, and that provided a lot of opportunities for them to like sit down and be and rest essentially. So I like to bring things that encourage them to rest, because kids on trail are crazy. You hike 5 miles and then all the adults sit down to rest, and then the kids go off and they're running around playing, and then by the time that you're ready to hike again, the kids are like, but I'm tired. I don't want to hike. Yeah, I need to sit. So, yeah, trying to find things to bring that encourage them to rest is, I think, really important. So journals are a great thing to bring. And then we always bring little whittling knives, which is also great because we have a rule that they need to be sitting down to be able to use them. So they find a stick and then they just, yeah, sharpen it and make a point. And yeah, those are really great open-ended things to bring. And usually they bring a little stuffy as well to cuddle with in the sleep-in.
Okay, cool. That's good to hear. I think listeners will find that interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then recently, there's always a feeling like we should be like reading to our children, but like carrying books was so difficult because the backpack I have and all the stuff is usually like 60 pounds. And especially putting a book in there is like, I don't want to do that. And early this year, I read this book, How to Tell Stories to Your Children. And so that's kind of like a thing I bring with me, this knowledge from this book. I used to be terrible at telling stories, and that book really helped me to be able to tell stories. And that's a really great tool for breaks to, sit them down and tell them a story, or before bed and while hiking. I tell so many stories while we hike. It's crazy. That really keeps them going on trail.
Wow, that is a really awesome resource that you shared. We'll have to put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that book before, so I'll have to look it up. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you, as you do a lot of hard things that maybe you get crazy comments from on Instagram, or people may think that it's really risky, or and I'm just curious if there's some training that you mentally need to do, or if you feel like this comes naturally to you. Is there anything that you'd speak to in those moments where you're kind of like, the world is kind of like thinks this is not what I should be doing with my kids, but I'm out there exploring and adventuring, and it's not as risky and crazy as it may look. Do you have any thoughts to share about that?
Yeah, I think the people that think it's irresponsible or crazy or just too much, I think it's coming from people that that don't have experience and don't understand what it is that like backpacking really is. Because really, the longer you are out on trail with kids, the more natural it feels, and and I still have it where before we set out on a hike, I'm nervous. My mind comes up with all these scenarios like, what if this, what if that? I mean, there's 1,000 things that could happen, but the more I do it and the more I take my kids on trails, the more confident I feel, and the more I realize that what we're doing is good for them. It's good for us. Mom and dad are happy, and that's what the kids need to see. There's nothing more important, in my opinion, than children witnessing their parents, being happy with the way that life is. And I know I wouldn't feel this way, and I know I wouldn't be such a good mom for them if I wasn't doing what I feel is worthwhile to do. And so any comments that we have that are negative, I try to remind myself that, they just don't understand. Maybe their passions in life are elsewhere, or they've never backpacked. But certainly if they had any idea of, if they could glimpse into the reality of what trail life is with kids, they would understand. And yeah.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's so good. And you're so right. Like, it's so important to see our kids, see mom and dad and family be in the moment with them, present, happy, just out there together. So it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we close out the show, there's a few questions I always ask everyone that comes on. And that's, would you be willing to share a story of a favorite moment outside with your kids?
That's a really hard one because I don't know if I can pick out one specific thing. It's, when you ask that question, I just have a bunch of memories of, sitting by the trail, eating food with my kids, the kids helping me make dinner and teaching them how to use the stove, setting up a tent, and the kids running over to help me do that. It's like these little moments that are always my favorite, or laying down before bed and looking at the stars together and having, just wild conversations and, telling stories, watching them run down the trail. It's like the little things. I can't think of anything I can't think of one story.
It's the whole experience. I can relate to that. I can totally see where you're coming from. All those little happy moments together.
Yeah.
What's one unique tip you have for moms who would like to explore more?
I always tell people that it's about just being outside. Every time, all the picnics I've had with my kids, even those are, little stepping stones to understand what it means to be outside with your child and learning about how to care for them outside. It's a little bit different than caring for them when we're at home or at the park. And every time we take our kids outside, we learn something new about our relationship with them, with ourselves, and in relation to nature. And we gain confidence through that, through knowing what it is like. And even a simple picnic can give us insight that's valuable for us to be able to do these bigger trails and reach bigger goals. So good. Yes, I agree. Marketa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories. It was beautiful to meet you and connect, and I really appreciated that. So would you share where we can follow along with your future hiking trips and tell us where we can connect? Yeah, I share on Instagram a daily walk. And then we have a website with my friend that's called yearnature.org, and we share all of our best tips there and specific things about our year and activities that we do with our children outdoors, how we motivate our children on trail, and the food that we eat. Yeah, everything can be found at yearnature.org. And then the what would you call it? The poetic side of our trips I share on Instagram at Daily Walk. That's amazing. Yeah, thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you please take a moment to leave a rating and a review? It honestly really helps the podcast grow to more people so that they can find it. And it's a free way that you can love on me. It honestly means more than you know. And I would just be so grateful if you could take a moment to do this so that more outdoor mothers could find the podcast. Don't forget, everything that we mentioned is in the show notes, from gear recommendations to trail recommendations to where to travel. So check that out. And we will be chatting so soon. We drop an episode every first and third Tuesday of the month.